Welcome, race fans, back to the Adrian Newey division of the SVR VR Sim Racing World Championship of 2025. My name is Webbo. I'm here to enjoy the race with you today, as usual, with the slightly awkward fact that I was in this race, and I will do my best to avoid mentions too much in the way of mentions of myself, unless I think it might add to the broadcast itself. Let me know. It's still slightly awkward for me. This is how things look after the fourth round of our championship. Mega Racing on 112 points ahead of JPI Racing, Jann Interiors Racing on 79. Remember, these are all of our title sponsors for our teams. Buckstein Racing have 61 with Delessi on 59. Brokaga in 5th have 55. Kimmy's have 45. And Coach Dave at the back of the grid at the moment on 39 points. Let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship then, as things stand. We have Pat Finn leading the way on 70 points total with 3 race winning streak, which will come to an end because he was AWOL. No, he did have leave. He was away for this race, and let us all know straight away about that one. Pat Finn on top of the standings with 70 points, a long distance ahead of teammate myself here on 42. Jazzy Beats moved up a position into 3rd place on 41 points, but is very narrowly ahead of Revelet in 4th by a single point. It is ferociously close in the gap between the current P2 and P6. Biggerwood is in 5th place on 39 points with Wask on 38, having missed the first round of the championship, but been picking up solid points and podiums ever since. Yabo is in 7th place, down on 25 points, down a place anyway, with Rizbak in 8th on 23. Stormborn has 22. Sparky Watts has 23. And then we can look at, we've got 2 reserves. We've got Senor Fak and Christo on 18 and 15 points respectively, having just taken part in 1 race each. Milo has 14 points, Wilson Court 10, having missed the previous race, with Funny Nicky in 15th on 9. So Grinch in 16th on 8 points. Then we go Black Evo, Brum, Salamander, Thump, and DeLucas, and I will show you this awesome chart that thanks to Beragos for changing the format of the standings here for me for convenience. But you can go ahead and pause this one, or of course you can look at info.svr-racing.com for all of our standings at the current point of asking. But of course, don't forget that if you do that before you've seen a race, you may end up with spoilers. So let's get underway then for the race. This is how things look in qualifying. I have tried to do the side-on view of qualifying, but it doesn't work for me, unfortunately. As soon as I change the car in its point of view. So at the back of the grid, qualifying in 13th place was Stormborn, ahead of Wilson Core. In 12th, we have Gubanov, guest driving 14 Mega, and qualifying in 11th position, with Benz then in 10th place, alongside his teammate Brum, the Buckstein racing drivers taking and owning row 5 for this race. Biggerwood for Jann Interiors qualified himself in 8th place, with Sparky Watt for Coach Dave in 7th. Thump in the Delessi livery. We'll try and get a really good look at that. The celebration livery for the United States race here, of course, in Daytona, and they are draped in the stars and stripes, Old Glory, and some other cool details on the car as well. And row 3 owned by Delessi, with Sir Grinch out qualifying Thump into 5th place. I managed 4th with Jazzy Beats in 3rd place. Jazzy Beats and Wilson Court going for the option strategy here, and we'll see how that works out, because the medium tyres, not necessarily the best tyre to start the race. However, it is a flexible tyre if incidents and accidents happen later on. We've got Rizbak in 2nd with a great qualifying position, and Revelet significantly ahead, truth be told, in the qualifying 10-minute endurance race that we had to decide the grid. So we should be ready at this historic scene of the Rolex 24. We are racing at night for a total of 18 laps around the tricky infield, which is a slippery, difficult and narrow concrete surface before heading back onto the oval, and then a quick diversion onto, as I'm sure you all know, the bus stop chicane, where many a race have been ruined throughout racing history, both in sim racing and of course track racing as well. Well, we're ready to get underway. I hope you're looking forward to this one. We shall get those start lights going, and we will be underway then for round 5 of the championship at Daytona. Let's get going for the AN division then. It is 5 red lights on. A little jump start potentially from rows 2, 3 and 4 on the inside line. It's drop the clutch and go after a hesitation from several drivers. Revelit, Risbach and myself in 3rd place, Thump recovering into 4th, and then down we go in towards this tricky turn 1. What might befall everybody? I think we had a little bit of contact, did we? Yes indeed, and there goes guest driver Gubanov. Jazzy Beats also held up by that incident. Let's go back and have a look at what happened from the start, from the perspective, shall we say, of Gubanov potentially. Here we go. Gubanov starting near to, but not quite at, the extreme back of the grid. Looks like some slow getaways thanks to those jump starts as the drivers crowd around as to what is happening. Let's go back then to the rearmost driver, Wilson Core, as we see our teammate Sparky Watt on the inside line. Wilson gets an overlap past Stormborn. We get Sparky Watt into Jazzy Beats, into Gubanov, a bit of pinball, unfortunately doing lap 1, turn 1 things here at Daytona. And Risbach screaming immediately into the lead, ahead of Revelit, but then opening the door somewhat, and Revelit getting away on the outside line on the head towards the dogleg as we head towards that second fantastic hairpin here at Daytona. Down we go then. It is Risbach, Revelit, myself and Biggerwood. Further back, Ben, Thump, Brum, Sir Grinch, your top 8. Risbach looking loose on the outside of the corner, and the front 4 getting very, very close as they close into the in and out for the first time. I managed to get ahead of Biggerwood, I think, on the way through that sequence, and then we give up the slipstream on the way down in towards that famous bus stop. This is the challenge at the head of the field. Revelit having to go the long way round the outside through the banking. Then we'll get onto that straightaway, and we'll be looking for those braking opportunities all the way down in towards the bus stop. It is a long drag. Revelit already getting the better of Risbach on the way in. I was defending against Biggerwood, and the rest of the top 8 navigate very nicely through. Stormborn from the back of the grid, managing to get up to P9, avoiding trouble as she so often does. Wilson Court in 10th place with Sparky Watt, Jazzy Beats and Gubanov having been involved in that first turn incident. Risbach to the inside then, after being compromised through the bus stop on the inside line. As we head down then towards the start-finish line to close out lap 1, we are going to go and see how things look on the outside entry into the corner. Risbach out onto the marbles, gives up the position, I think. Yes, indeed. And then I follow him off, unfortunately. Get a little tap from Biggerwood on the way into the corner, and then we head down into the way. And a further incident with, I think, Biggerwood that did see some action with the stewards later on, and then it is a reversed order of the middle group on the podium there. It's now Revelit ahead of teammate Biggerwood, Risbach and myself, with Thump closing in the DeLacy pairing of Thump and Sir Grinch, hoping to take advantage and do so neat and tidy through the West Horseshoe and heading back towards that in and out. I've managed to get down to 5th position here. Sir Grinch launching one down the inside, having to yield to the corner and losing 2 positions then as Brum goes through. I promise this race won't all be about me by any stretch. Stormborn in 9th, and Ben's following through then in that 8th place and looking for that opportunity to get through. Meanwhile, battle continues as we head down towards the bus stop with Revelit, Biggerwood and Risbach, the current order. Biggerwood having got past Risbach. Let's go back and see that one as we head into the bus stop. Things are as they were before. Let's go back then and see how Biggerwood managed to get through past Risbach. Here it is. Risbach in that third position. Just Biggerwood going clean around the outside and up into second place after, I think, that initial contact that we saw earlier on. Then defending heavily. And we continue on then down towards the bus stop once again and try and catch ourselves back up to real time. Revelit leading and stretching away from teammate Biggerwood, and then we've got the battle between Risbach and Thump, Sir Grinch, Brum and myself, with Benz in 8th place going through that bus stop cleanly. And then it is time for those slipstream battles to continue inside that top 7, who seem to have opened out a nice gap. Then Ben's a little bit on his own with Stormborn on the soft tyre, as most drivers were. We go 3 wide though, down across the start finish line at the peak of the tri-oval. Brilliant stuff to see the Stars and Stripes screaming on past Risbach as Delessi work together on the way into turn 1. Fantastic. And then they have to just navigate each other. Risbach though slipping off the circuit, with Brum in P6 and Webbo catching as we head down towards the international horseshoe, the first of the 2 hairpins. Risbach defending to the inside, Brum having to just adjust his line on the way into the corner. The new order, Revelit, Biggerwood, Sir Grinch and Thump, Risbach and Brum in that 5th and 6th position. So it is lap 3 of the 18 as we try to revisit what is happening here with Sir Grinch leading the way as a reserve driver against new permanent driver, I believe, Thump for Delessi. And on those soft tyres, we've got Wilson Court and Jazzy Beats, who started on the mediums, but we will never know if that strategy would work out nicely. There you can see the NASCAR driver tribute on the side of the Delessi car, which is a terrific tribute there. I love the way that they've laid that onto the car. And of course, fans of the Daytona racetrack will be more than familiar with the number 3. Risbach then in 5th as we head into the bus stop as Brum and Webbo continue to battle on the way through the very, very difficult bus stop corner. And then we have the long drag, the second part of this long drag track on the outfield, around the NASCAR oval, with that interruption into the bus stop once again, managing to get past on the slipstream here, purely thanks to the aerodynamics of the Team Mega car and the setup. I think I was running a very low downforce setup for that top speed. Looks like we've got some incident going into turn 1 though, between certainly Thump and Risbach getting close to one another. As we head then down into the next corner, it is into the hairpin we go, and Brum back down to 7th now, but hanging on to this brilliant battle pack we have at the head of the field. Revelit, however, though, getting further and further away as Biggerwood starts to have to pay attention in his mirrors to the advances of Sir Grinch and to the other Delessi car, and unfortunately that is contact between the Kimmy's racing car and the Mega car. Let's go back and check that one out, because we'll see what happened in close detail as we head into the corner. I won't make any major comments about this one, but certainly an attempt for an overtake is made here, and then contact results. Unfortunately, Risbach off the circuit. And you can draw your own conclusions. The stewards later on leaving their decision in on the website as usual, as you can see. Then losing traction, losing time to both Brum, and then that is Biggerwood also having a difficulty. Let's go back and check out what happened to Biggerwood. He was actually turned around in that section. So let's see as he heads down into the next into the in and out. He's on his own at this stage. I think just a slight misjudgment, and then it was contact with Sir Grinch, and both drivers pitching round slightly. Sir Grinch getting back on the track ahead of Biggerwood, and then through past comes Brum and myself, Webbo, into the new P5. and then Brum has to defend once again from the trimmed out Team Mega in its new chrome and red livery here, designed by Vicinity for the Daytona and night races this season. So back into P4 we go, with Team Mega. Brum into 5th, and Biggerwood unfortunately deposed down to 6th position. Benz is still in that 7th place at the back of the group, with Stormborn not letting them get fully away. Jazzy Beats is catching, and Stormborn picks up a time penalty going through the bus stop. That is a big shame, as Jazzy Beats on the medium tyres will now be in better condition than most everybody else on the grid, because most drivers starting on the softs, the starting fuel level for the AN cars here at Daytona, with the amount of full throttle, did not mean that you could actually get the medium tyres through to a position where the soft tyre window was open later on in a natural course of events. That's Biggerwood unfortunately round again, this time into turn 1. That was a long way off the circuit, unfortunately. What happened here, Biggerwood trying to make a move on Brum, does make a move on Brum. They hit the invisible wall, I think, as a result, and off the circuit actually sent a couple of those oval protecting bollards on the way through, and then Biggerwood gets another slap from Stormborn on the way in, and Stormborn into P8. I think Stormborn possibly is going to allow Biggerwood back through. No, not quite, but certainly Biggerwood goes from fighting for 2nd down to 9th, unfortunately, and that's how things have worked out. So Grinch then into the West Horse Show we go, following Benz after the contact with Biggerwood, and the Buckstein drivers now into 4th and 5th positions. Revelit leads Thump and myself ahead of this group at the moment, and you can just check out the gaps there. Quite significant, those gaps at this time, so we'll focus on the mid-pack at the moment, with riding on board with Sir Grinch as we head down, heading towards that bus stop situation, and Benz with a slight defence possibly. Grinch has a great run coming up there, but yields to the corner and ends up actually going too wide. Didn't quite judge the loss of downforce, I think, and with the bright green Grinchy gloves, has to rebuild from that position, and we continue then through the Daytona night. Jazzy Beats in 7th. Stormborn has been passed by Biggerwood now, so Stormborn giving up a position then back to Biggerwood. Rizbak is down into 10th position, as Kimmy's running 9th and 10th. Gubanov on the fight back with pretty strong damage on the back and back left of the car, unfortunately, and having to wait for his pit stop. Remember on team radio saying, can I pit yet, can I pit yet? And we were saying, no, wait, hold off. You've got to get through to the end of lap 6 to use those mediums. Biggerwood pits though on lap 5 off the soft tyres, and I think we'll have a long and difficult run with that was Sparky Watt at the back of the grid. Revelit's lead at this stage very, very significant, as he is using those soft tyres to great effect. He's got plus 10 horsepower on the car. I'm not quite sure what he did to get that sticker, and whether it is accurate or not. He should be equalised, but if he does have an extra 10 horsepower, that does explain why he was able to gap the field at this stage to quite the same effect. So Grinch versus Benz is the battle to watch on this lap 6 of 18. We wait then for those first pit stops. So Grinch in that 6th place. I think Jazzy Beats starting to catch the soft tyre drivers now, as he started on those mediums. So Grinch down the inside. This looks like it's going to be an attempt, and possibly a successful attempt before the braking zones. So Grinch cuts across back to take the racing line, and then they'll just all hope to hang on through here. And Sir Grinch didn't manage to quite hang on with that faster line into the corner. Unfortunately, a little bit of contact. Sir Grinch picking up a half-second penalty for being off the circuit by the merest of fractions, I think. He'll be ducking out of this gap. Jazzy Beats trying to find a way through past Benz, who might be looking to pit at this point on the lap. No, he doesn't. So Jazzy having to go the long way round the high line here at Daytona across the start-finish line. He is slightly behind. They get promoted because Revelit is in the pits. Jazzy taking the wide entry into turn 1. but Ben's holding on with a good braking position here. So Grinch, after the penalty, managed to get a little bit of a tow and hang on to the back of the group. 4th, 5th, 6th, Benz. Jazzy beats Sir Grinch because Revelit pitted, the only driver to pit off the soft tyres at the end of lap 6. Everybody else taking it a little bit longer. We'll see if that affects him later on in his medium tyre stint. Of course, his medium tyres will always be 1 lap older than everybody else. It's a very wide line from Sir Grinch as he goes in towards the corner. The gaps at the moment, though, not looking like, well, I was going to say not looking like there would be an overtake coming, but Sir Grinch with good traction coming out of the West Horseshoe. That will probably be matched, but Benz has had an issue again, unfortunately, through the in and out. Let's see if we can find out what happened to Benz. He goes in towards the in and out, everything looking like normal here, but yeah, just a tiny snap oversteer, has to get off the throttle, and that looks like that rear right tyre letting go very quickly, so through goes Jazzy Beats. I'm fully anticipating here. Jazzy Beats then back up to 4th position and then in hot pursuit of Benz's teammate Brum. But the gap between the top 3 and the rest is significant at this stage. So Grinch flies back past Benz once again, but again has to yield as Benz very muscular there to the corner. No contact, I think, but Benz not being passed unless there was some miraculous move coming around the outside. But Sir Grinch should be able to walk his way through and past Benz here as they go along the high line. Let's hope nobody in this group are trying to pit on the inside while being passed on the outside. The pit lane on your left right now. In goes Brum and in goes Sir Grinch right across the nose of Benz. That could have been very nasty indeed. Thump, Webbo, Jazzy Beats, Benz. Your current order as Brum, Sir Grinch and Revelit have all pitted. Stormborn is in 7th now, thanks to those pit stops taking effect. Now make that 5th for Stormborn. These drivers all going through to lap 8 of 18. 8 laps on the softs is very well going, I have to say. In practice on full fuel, those soft tyres weren't doing so well, but this day in history, this night in history, I should say, treating the tyres that little bit gentler, I think. Now you've got Revelit in 6th, you've got Rizbak in 7th, and Stormborn, the Kimmy's driver, in that 5th place. Brum out of the pits in 8th, ahead of Sir Grinch and Biggerwood. Actually, there's quite a gap then back to Biggerwood, who's ahead of Wilson Core at this stage, who's still on his medium tyres, just like Jazzy. Might be going through to lap 11 or 12 here before changing onto the softs. Gubanov is at the back now, having finally made that pit stop and repaired the car after that lap 1, turn 1 damage, but unfortunately looks to be too far away, I think, now to be able to make a move. Thump ahead then, leading the race on this 8th lap. Looks like I was catching him at this point as we eke the whatever we can out of the tyres. Looks like very even fuel and tyre wear between the lead pair at this stage, and we head towards the pit lane and we both pit at the same time, at full throttle, of course, in here at the Daytona racetrack then. So Jazzy Beats will take the lead of the race thanks to being on that option strategy in the Brokaga black and green. It is the halfway point of the race approaching. It is now lap 9 of 18 as we head into turn 1, and Jazzy Beats then taking that lead. Here goes Revelit. Let's join him on board for a few moments, because of course he will retake his track position against Thump and myself, who are still in the pits. Ben Stormborn also in the pits, as is Rizbak on this lap. That means Brum's going to pick up positions. There you can just see the tricolour on the sleeve of Revelit. I think that's the Dutch colours rather than the Hungarian colours. He still hasn't fixed that on his suit, I think. Jazzy Beats leading Revelit, and then this is how things looked coming out of the pits. Looks like Thump managed to have a slightly shorter pit stop here than for the Team Mega crew. Something to work on for us, I think, in this phase. But Benz is in 5th, and his teammate Brum also now on the medium tyres and still trying to get them up to temperature, evidently, coming out of the horseshoe. but following his teammate, they can work together now. The Buckstein Racing drivers can work together. Brum wearing that Iron Man helmet as well, and hoping he can fly forward as much as possible. This is Benz ahead of Brum. So Grinch out of the pits on new tyres in 7th. Has Stormborn using the toe now in 8th place and looking good out there at the moment. These two with Biggerwood, Wilson Court and Risbach super close to one another. Great battle to see these cars all together, with Wilson Court kind of the stopper in the bottle to a certain extent, thanks to those medium tyres now. Certainly a little bit older than the mediums on Biggerwood and on Risbach. Is that Risbach just slightly wide going into the next corner? Let's join him on board and see how this slipstream starts to take effect. Check out the mile per hour on the bottom of your screen and the kilometers per hour, of course, on the racing wheel as we go through. I imagine that's going to be fairly equal to the slipstream that Wilson has got. Biggerwood with the slowest speed, I think. Well, actually, yes, not quite. It looks like Biggerwood with a more trimmed out car heading into turn 1. It is really hard to judge that braking zone for turn 1, and as the tyres evolve lap after lap, it always feels slightly different as we get a look at the kind of visibility and light levels here at Daytona on this 10th lap in the dead of night. Lots of the crowd staying up to watch with us, and the dew point is reached on the grass here on the infield. It's lap 10 of 18 as the drivers continue to try and keep their focus levels and battle the effects of fatigue with the night conditions. Jazzy Beats still leading then, it's to lap 8. Significant gap over Revelit, but it's nowhere near enough for a pit stop at this stage. Revelit is now in, I think, a management phase, trying to make sure his older mediums can get all the way to the end. And those googly eyes on the helmet of Revelit's car look great over the bumps through the oval section. The old NASCAR turns 3 and 4 of the circuit. We do like to see that. And then it is beginnings of possibly a battle developing here between myself in 4th and Thump in 3rd, as the gap's starting to come down, whether that's down to car 82's speed or the Delesi making a mistake. Let's have a look as we head then down in towards the horseshoe. There's a possible overlap, but it's not quite there, as Thump drives round the outside, leaves space to the inside, and they both emerge from the corner safe and sound this time. Anyway, new personal best for this particular lap. Now we're on those soft tyres, and we head down into the horseshoe, and nothing doing at this stage. Jazzy Beats in 4th place out of the pits and looking good out there. Now he's on the soft tyres, so should have extra speed, but also struggling to get them into temperature working range. The Buckstein cars are still 5th and 6th positions, and it looks like we've got Stormborn being caught at this stage on her medium tyres by Biggerwood, who is likewise on the older medium tyres right now, but unlocking some consistency and pace at this point, and will be able to draw on that fantastic slipstream on the way out of this in and out turn 6 and onto now the flat out section of the Daytona circuit. This looks good from Biggerwood. Is it going to be a similar situation for Risbach and Sparky? Risbach and Wilson, I should say. Here comes Biggerwood then. Stormborn is defending to the inside. Biggerwood's going to have to do this round the outside the difficult way. I'm not sure our camera angle is quite going to show us what's happening. Biggerwood goes round that outside and it threw into the corner. Looks like Wilson Court not under quite as much stress from the car behind as Stormborn was. Biggerwood with a successful pass into P8. As we go back to what was a close battle then at the moment for 2nd position on the road. As we head down into the corner, looks like the door is open once again. And a merest of touches, but managing to make the overtake then on the way through the corners. We try and hold the camera then and be able to see these great cars making their way through. Of course, everybody's still on the lead lap at this stage. Stormborn 9th and Wilson Core and Risbach. Let's see if Risbach is going to go for a move then down into one of these two hairpins. Wilson Core doing enough at this stage. He's now on the medium. He's still on his medium tyres. That is extraordinary. And going through to lap 12 on the mediums. How has he done this with the fuel? He must have pitted. He did pit after damage from lap 1, I believe. So that's how things are working out. Revelit checking out in the lead of this race, as we see then Thump trying to get his position back using the slipstream. But we'll see if he has the same lack of downforce as Team Mega managed to help me towards using. On the way through the bus stop we go. Looks like Thump without quite the same amount of overspeed here. Just trying to, I think, break the toe at this stage, possibly by taking a slightly high line, different line through the corner. We are almost 2/3 of the way through this fantastic AN race, which has delivered drama aplenty. No real slipstream, it seems, on the Delesi car at this stage. I was being forced to brake quite early into turn 1, if I recall correctly, and actually leaving it too late that time. Not quite making the apex and making a bit of a mess of turn 1 as we watch on board with Thump. So I think having to defend for a moment. Thump making his intentions felt, making sure he's populating the mirrors, keeping the pressure piled on here, and trying to make inroads into getting that second place back. Jazzy Beats is 4th, and I think going to be hoping that the second and third place drivers slow each other down at this stage while he is on those soft tyres. Jazzy in Brazil at home, kind of, I think, overdrove. I think even by his admittance, I think perhaps pushed too hard after the pit stop and didn't really leave tyres for the end of the race. So I'm sure planning to learn from that in the second phase of the following race here in Daytona. Benz has managed to gap his teammate Brum, who is having a good race for Bergstein here in P6. So Grinch is 7th and certainly has designs on getting back into the top 6 at very least at this stage as well. Lap 13 of 18. So Grinch continues on. But the podium positions at the moment, Revelit, myself and Thump, and continuing to try and get these cars home safely and sound. Biggerwood in 8th place, and Stormborn now having to defend from Wilson Court. I'm not sure how comfortable that is going to make Stormborn feel after previous race situations. I'm thinking back to Suzuka particularly. And Risbach now needs to put some pressure on Wilson Core and help his teammate Stormborn, and is managing to do so. I think Wilson, with paying a penalty potentially there coming on, or at least not managing to make it through the bus stop smoothly. Risbach straight into 10th and seeing some really good traction then. Needs to not dip those tyres beneath the yellow lines, otherwise a very harsh penalty is incoming. Risbach making his way back to 10th position. And heading then down as Wilson Court. Wow, very late move into the corner then from Wilson Court, and a little touch on the way out just to add insult to injury. Let's perhaps have another look at that one as we go down into the corner. We're a long way back, but Risbach kind of walking his way to the outside of the circuit. Wilson Court, there was space, I think, and not for the first time possibly. Space on the outside after Risbach maybe giving up the inside to a corner, and then taking the position back with taking no prisoners either, and getting through back into 10th place. So Wilson Core refocusing and having to do the job all over again. So Wilson P11 at this time. Coach Dave running 11th and 12th. Gubanov starting to catch Sparky now as well on the fight back, and hoping that there are going to be issues in the cars for the cars up ahead. Wilson, just a little snap again that will steal all of his momentum coming out of the in and out. hopefully be able to pick back up that slipstream and get those extra mile an hour or two that he needs to stay with Rysback. But at the moment, Kimi's on top of Coach Dave here. Kimi's 9th and 10th, Coach Dave 11th and 12th, with, you can just see, Gubanov at the back of the grid right now, wearing the Stars and Stripes on his back wing, and hoping to try and make up at least a position, if possible, before the end of the race. Revelit is absolutely imperious out front. Meanwhile, the battle for P2 continues and is about to be joined, I think, by Jazzy Beats. So Thump piling on the pressure, and my heart rate was as high as it's been this season, while Thump was featuring very heavily in the mirrors. I had no hope of being in this position, and then managed to screw up the entry into the corner. We go back through and just hanging on once again by an absolute thread, as Thump does a far better job going into the West Horseshoe. But I think just constantly trying to rely on the lack of downforce, the low trim in the Team Mega car, who engineered a fantastic car for me this race. Thanks to the whole team for that one. Vicinity in my ear as well, talking me through, trying to keep Gubanov okay as well, because that was tough for a reserve driver to show up and see all of that happening. Through the bus stop we go once again, and you can take such liberties with the bus stop curbing and white line, but stray too far onto the grass and it is game over for these battles. So the stress was very, very high at this stage, and Jazzy Beats then is right on board with the Brokaga driver, who started on the medium tyres and has to get 3 more laps out of the softs. Just hear that little rise in the engine note, indicating that there is a little bit of slipstream happening here. Very calm actually on the way into the corner, and certainly channeling the late great Ayrton Senna. Closing in now on Thump, and a 3-way battle for P2 is completely shattered because a tiniest of snaps of oversteer on board with Jazzy Beats, and it's all over. Unfortunately, possibly focusing on the cars ahead slightly too much, but it is so easily done. Here goes Sir Grinch and Benz then alongside each other. This looks like Sir Grinch back again in the thick of the action and heading into P5. Let's maybe just catch that move from its beginnings. I wonder if that was perhaps Benz being slightly compromised into the next corner. We touched once, we touched twice, and Sir Grinch then right round the outside. Is it going to be a switchback? No, Benz was parking on the apex, I think, for a moment, anticipating the switchback, and Sir Grinch says, thank you very much, we'll just use the outside then, and into 5th place. So great move from him. Nice clean overtakes, which is what we love to see. Benz then down into 6th with Brum in 7th. So Brum's been passed by Sir Grinch, who's done the double here on Bergstein. Biggerwood is in P8. We have Rysback, who's swapped positions with Stormborn. I imagine that was fairly amicable and incident-free between the two Kimi's drivers, whether there were team orders or just a slipstream push. We don't know. But Stormborn obviously taking this opportunity to use the slipstream herself now, and let's see if she can get that slipstream neat and tidy. Looks good at the moment. Quite a lot of movement on the car. I don't know if that might be lag. You can see the amount of movement on the helmet as well. You don't tend to feel that so much in VR, but certainly the front washing out slightly on the way out of the in and out. Fairly calm into the bus stop. Don't want to run into your teammate for sure. Using plenty of curb and grass on part 3 of the bus stop, and love to see that with full commitment on the racetrack. Stormborn in P10. We've got Wilson Core in 11th. We have Sparky, Coach Dave, driver, second driver at the moment in P12. Our Belgian driver, our only Belgian I think in the league, and Gubanov in P13. Can't quite catch the drivers. Now it looks like the gap at the front is starting to shrink. Revelit on those older medium tyres is in a real management phase on the course of this latter part of the race. I'm hanging on. I continue to hang on to second place as Thump stays in the mirrors and keeps piling on that pressure. But the pace difference between the two, if you want to have a look on the website and the race report later on, our combined pace was absolutely minuscule, the difference between the two of us, as Delassie are very well suited, I think, to this Daytona circuit, and Thump doing a fantastic job here. Jazzy B still in that 4th place, but completely on his own. Let's just check out then what's happening down here for the battle for 8th place. Looks like Stormborn has had an issue. That's maybe Rysback's tyres were protesting there on the way through and onto the oval, but Rysback hanging on at the moment, probably suffering some dirty air on the back of Biggerwood, but hoping to try and make an overtake very soon. Here we go then. Good slipstream, great overspeed then from Rysback. That is tremendous from the Ferrari power on board the Kimmis Racing Team Adrian Newey car. Biggerwood back down to 10th, and he'll be just conscious that Stormborn is there. Very easy to see at night. Of course, these Adrian Newey cars have the full beam headlights in the mirrors, and they do glare quite considerably through the sequences. Brum in 7th, still has teammate Benz in front. So Grinch hasn't been able to get away in 5th place. Everybody struggling to manage the tyres now at this stage, and the leaders are on their final lap of proceedings. It's now or never for Thump, and I think the gap is as big as it has ever been. I think beyond a second now between P2 and P3, and it looks like Revelit has got himself a good enough gap to continue here, heading through towards the bus stop. Let's see if there are any late moves in the infield here. Biggerwood in 9th again. Stormborn who goes through. Let's have another check of that situation. It's already happened. Wow. So Stormborn, I wonder if Biggerwood went off the circuit, did he, or suffered a penalty? What happened here? Well, Stormborn just getting a great drive. Maybe there was a penalty being paid by Biggerwood that sucked his momentum. And then so Stormborn getting up into P9. That's Kimmis in P8 and P9 now. And then we head into the infield, and let's see if Biggerwood managed to close in. He did, because Stormborn not quite going through turn 1 correctly. She's got damage on the car as well, so that's going to hurt the braking performance. This is Biggerwood down the inside into the international horseshoe and back past again. And then a slide, unfortunately. So Stormborn, that's how that all worked out in the end. Crazy sequence. Here is Revelit heading into the bus stop then for the first time, for the final time, I should say, and untroubled from behind. Looks like the battle for P2 is settled on the road for this time anyway. And the top 3 breathing a sigh of relief. But Revelit, Hungarian driver for Jamplakt Interiors, was never in doubt as to the result today. He performed beautifully, had the pole position, led every lap apart from the pit sequence, and Revelit wins round 5 of the championship here for the Adrian Newey division at Daytona. I managed to get second with Thump in 3rd on the road. Anyway, Jazzy Beats comes through to take a hard-earned option strategy 4th position, and then comes Sir Grinch, the second of the Delassie cars, into P5. This should be a good day for Delassie points haul. Benz ahead of teammate Brum for Bergstein in 7th and 8th, and then we have Stormborn and Rysback in 8th. Coming across the line, there's the checkered flag, and Rysback comes through into P8, Stormborn into P9. We have Biggerwood, who couldn't hold on to that P9, unfortunately, and smashes the car in frustration across the line in P10. That's frowned upon from our stewards. Wilson Core, after incident-packed first lap, Coach Dave finished 11th and 12th, and on his debut with Team Mega. Gubanov rounds the final turn and brings the car home for 13th place and the last of the current runners. Reveille, though, was your victor in the car 87, and well, no one was getting near to the fantastic Hungarian racer. Well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hopefully, we will be back very soon for more action here at the VR Sim Racing World Championship, brought to you by SVR and, of course, all of our wonderful title sponsors. My name's Webbo. You know how to do all the good stuff here on my channel, I'm sure, and do the same and subscribe to at SVR-Racing. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care, and we will catch you on the next race day.